Okay, so my name is Katie Grabowski. I'm Colorado MUFON State Director. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you came out. We have a very intimate group today, which is nice. Hi, Sean. Nice to see you. Hi, guys. This is going to be a very just lighthearted presentation. Oh, sorry. Let me get in the camera here. There we go. Again, like I said, we're trying to stream live Zoom as well. Oh, if you guys are on Zoom, can you please mute your mics? That would be helpful because we're getting feedback in the room. Awesome. Okay. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Next month, the second Saturday of next month, we're going to do a field investigators meeting before the meeting, and then we're going to do a open mic where I really want to hear from all of you, and I'm really going to push advertising that so we get a bit larger of a group to share the reasons why we're here. Another thing I wanted to do today is I left little index cards on the table over there with a pen. So if you guys have any ideas or suggestions, things you would like us to talk about, presenters you would like to see, please jot them down. So, you know, to me, this is a community and I want to make sure that everybody's needs are being met and what you want out of Colorado MUFON, right? Whether, I know we have experiencers in the group as well as our nuts and bolts science folks that want to do really look into the scientific side of things. And I think for Colorado, I want to bridge that gap a little bit more than it has been in the past. So everybody feels like they have a voice in our group. And that's going to be really important to me to do that. So if you guys have any suggestions for speakers or other things you would like to see for Colorado MUFON, please fill that out or contact me at katiegrabowski@msn.com. That would be very helpful for me. Let's see. So we went over field investigators. Today, this was a trip. We're going to be talking about our Area 51 shenanigans. So back in 2017, before the MUFON symposium at the JW Marriott, where it was again this year, which actually was very successful symposium. I'm sorry for those who couldn't be there. It was a really good time. Wouldn't you say, Barry? It was very successful. It was a much larger crowd than I thought. And the speakers were very fascinating. And it was a very successful meeting. Next year in July, the symposium will be here in Colorado. Yay! So guess what? You're all going to be put to work. And that's another thing. We need suggestions for a good outing because every year at the symposium, they like to do like a tour of something. So we've had some interesting ideas roll around. The problem is with COVID and higher security, just like Lockheed Space would be really cool. Paul, you have been in at Lockheed Space. Is a tour possible maybe to get in there? I don't know. Air Force Academy, wouldn't it be cool to get into NORAD? I don't know. Anybody out there? Wink, wink. But any suggestions you may have for a cool outing for our symposium when we host, please jot that down on a card as well. Let's see, anything else you want to add, Barry, before we get started?
No, I think that it is. So we haven't had to suppose that since 2010.
Yeah.
Used to be here. We had 5 years in a row, went to Irvine, then came back again. Very successful.
Yep.
Second part of the country. So yeah, it's been actually 12 years since we've been back in that, so we're real excited about that. We have had on some fun to work, but Katie and I are great to do. But we're real excited. We have no idea who the speakers are or the themes.
Yeah, I know that's the first step is the theme and the speakers. Yeah. And certainly with all of you as this progresses month after month, and I'll let you guys know and keep you up to date on all the happenings with the Denver Symposium because, you know, we want to make Denver look good and be the biggest and the best. So
if everything goes well, then we could be part of the triad, like Vegas.
That's right. Yeah, I know that they want to do the following year back in Cincinnati, Ohio. I think Dave McDonald was telling me that Cincinnati is really a central located town for a lot of people, like an 8-hour drive or clear across the country. So that is actually a nice benefit of having it in Cincinnati. But anyway, so let's see. just a little update on what's been going on with me as far as the topic goes. I don't know. I've been staying really busy with doing conferences and speaking about a lot of the activity out from the late 70s in Elbert County, Colorado, which cattle mutilations and strange menacing helicopters, and it's like a lot like the Skinwalker Ranch. And it's been fascinating for me to kind of finally put myself out there and connect with other people. And I was telling Barry and Paul and Ron at breakfast that it really kind of shakes up your belief system a little bit when it comes to this topic and what really was going on out there all those years ago in the military involvement in kind of nefarious projects out there at the time. And I'm kind of going through some personal, I wouldn't call it PTSD, but sort of anger about it, because here I am, it's impacted my life so greatly. And if they're just out there messing around doing these experimental projects, it's affected my life and hundreds of others greatly. And wow. But just so y'all know, I'm kind of now swung back around to the idea that two things were going on at the same time: unknown phenomenon, and military was out there just trying to figure out, like the rest of us, what the heck this is, and why, you know, as this is unfolding, all these high strangeness places, both Skinwalker and Blind Frog, and there's the Meadows Project down south, and Missouri, what is Missouri called? Marley Woods, and all these high strangeness places. We were discussing about what do these high strangeness places have in common? What creates this kind of where we can glimpse into the veil more easily than other places? What is about these places? And I think it's high time, and this is kind of my push and my new kind of idea, both with Trey Hudson.
I'm watching it. I don't know why.
Oh, hi, Pam.
Hi.
There's a group of us from these high strangeness locations that want to put our heads together and create kind of a militia team, a research team, and to really go to these locations and start really looking at the science of these locations. Because I think that there's answers that we can find, commonalities from these locations that we can find, whether they're high magnetism or whatever. So that's kind of where I am. I know what I'm doing. I have these wonderful ideas. If you're interested or have ideas about that, please reach out to me. So Area 51 shenanigans, like I was saying, back in 2017, Doug Wilson and Devin Rich and Doug's wife Terry and I decided to go spend a couple days exploring Area 51. And it's really unfortunate that Doug couldn't be here with us today. He is not feeling very well, so I hope a quick recovery to Doug. I don't know if he's on here with us on Zoom, but he was going to share his for decades, and they're great because he shares photos of Doug like in his long hair days. So to see Doug with his long hair and out there exploring, and he got in some trouble out in Area 51, like arrested, put in the cuffs, thrown in the back of the truck, the whole 9 yards. And you really need to hear it from Doug because it's pretty fascinating, and he has some really cool photos. So I'm really bummed he couldn't be here to share his part of this, but we'll get him back. Maybe he can do it next month because we'll have open mic, and maybe Doug can give his part of this as well, because he really does have some cool pictures to share about that. But what's cool and why I wanted to share that with you, I mean, the whole storm Area 51 and all that, we really experienced some really interesting things. And how many of you have been out to Area 51 nosing around that are in this room? So four of you. Good. So chime in and tell me about your experience as well. I added some videos and some, oh, see, I can't use the clicker. Added some videos so you guys get a good feeling of what it's like out there. So let's see, can I use my PowerPoint? Oh, there, here we go. So something that's not really known about Area 51 is out here. Let's see. Oh, I don't have it on this map, but right here is Alamo. This is where we stayed at the Windmill Ridge. These are little cabins, and I have pictures of them next. Now, Windmill Ridge, because of COVID, is shut down, which is a shame because it's like a great little place to stay with cabins and a bakery. So I'm hoping they they get up, but there's a couple other places just right down the road from them. So it is, other than the Little Alien, is one of the best places to stay in Alamo. So if you're looking for a place to stay, that would be where I would recommend. You cruise down the highway here and you have the Alien Research Center. I'll have photos of that. Alien Fresh Jerky's right here. And then you hit this extraterrestrial highway. Woo! And right where this pin is here on Groom Lake Road is where we pulled over the truck. And I'm going to share a video of that so you get a good idea of the area. So here we all are. Oop, hold on, let's go back. Here's Windmill Ridge. Here's Doug and Terry and Deb and myself, and my husband Steve came out for the day. So those are those little cabins. And like I said, I hope they open back up. This is just us hanging out at ET Fresh Jerky, and Rich is getting abducted here, just having a good old time. Can you guys see this on Zoom, the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, so Rich and Deb, I know you're on there. I'm sharing photos. I hope you don't mind. Okay. This is the research center out there, which is just a lot of tchotchkes. If you want a bunch of little ET erasers and mugs, this is a place to get them. The same with the Little Alien, which we'll show. Now this is at dusk. This is when we stop. I'm going to go ahead and show this video.
Pretty out here. Really gorgeous.
And that's the road out there that leads into Area 51.
There's the beautiful area. Was that a bat?
So what's fascinating about this, you know that they know probably everything about us more than we know about us at this point already. Like when you go into this road, guaranteed they pull up your plate, they know your name, they know everything about you, which is a little unnerving. Here we are at the Little Alien the night before. So the next morning we get up and we cruise down the road. All right, as you can see, just this long straight shot. You have the monitors on the side here, again, watching and listening to everything you're saying. And the infamous camo dudes watching up from the hill as I say, please don't take photos. And you're out there, choo, 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 take a photo. Hey guys. Ah. And they're probably rolling their eyes going, oh my God, these crazy people. But what we decided to do, and this is, oh, this was a little anomaly. There's some sort of tower up here on the hill. We watched that for a while. I'm sure it's just an outbuilding reflection of some sort, but you know, we had to have some sort of thing. You have to be careful for the cows on the road. That's actually a photo I took. They just kind of wander out there and people go really fast. But the freakiest thing of all, so I'm in the Jeep and Doug's in front of us. There's these big, ginormous rabbits, like jackrabbits. And what was weird about them is they like face their back to the side of the road, right? Until you like come up right and they'll turn around and like, Doug, I think hit like 6 of these things. I mean, just all, but they were like, to me, they were like nuclear rabbits. It was kind of crazy. But what we decided to do is there's a place, and here we go. So this is called Project Faultless. And a lot of people don't know about this area. And of course, Doug did. So here's you can see Windmill Ridge where we stayed, the Groom Lake Road. Here's the Little Alien right here. So Area 51's back over here, right? You just go past the Little Alien, and I mean, you drive and drive and drive and drive to the middle. You think Area 51 is in the middle of nowhere? Project Faultless is in the middle of nowhere. And what is Project Faultless? I'm going to share a video about what it was and what they did out there. But our first shenanigan, our first mishap happened out at Project Faultless. And so let me go ahead and share. This is a closer look. I mean, you can see how desolate this is out here. I'm going to share this video. on what this is and what they did out there. So here we go. Hopefully, here we go.
We are now at the Project Faultless site that was conducted in January 1968. Started to drill the holes for the faultless test, which were about 10 diameter holes that went down 3,000 feet. They had large quantities of water and drilling mud piped down here into this reservoir. Drill mud, as you can see, has a black coating on the surface. And I believe this is leftover from the diesel fuel or petroleum compound added to the drill mud. This is a little raft that they used so that when this area was filled with water, they could go out and tend to various features out here and like take dippings and find out what the mud level was at. And anyway, it would be, I guess, kind of fun to ride on this boat. Just think of it with an oar and kind of row your boat across this thing as all this mud spewing out from this drilling of this underground test site.
Great, thank you.
The test was to determine if the area was seismically stable and could contain underground explosion without damage. Within minutes of the underground test, the area sort of collapsed. A large block of the area collapsed along what they think are existing faults. And what you see here is one of the fault areas. The area we are standing on fell about 15 feet from the shock of the blast. What do we have here? This is the drill basement for the inflatable hole of the Project Faultless site. This pipe, or one inside it, goes down 2,200 feet where the 1 megaton nuclear blast occurred.
Can you, for those of you on Zoom, can you please mute your mics? Please?
The ground level before the explosion was up at the top of the pipe. And when the explosion occurred, the ground dropped. There's a pipe sticking up above the surface now.
So that was at ground level. So they basically tested an atomic bomb underground at Project Faultless. And if you heard, the ground fell 15 feet, boom, right? So we're out there exploring, God knows why. I don't know why we went out there, but we did. And luckily for us, right when we got into Project Faultless here, there's like a little round, a roundy round, and we experienced our first flat tire. Hold on a second here.
Guys, I've got
Okay. Here we are.
Similar to fracking and it done the same.
Yeah, yeah, and
Colorado, right from Colorado, they did the same exact thing.
right. They were saying it's very similar to fracking in Rifle, Colorado.
Exploded in a nuclear bomb.
And this disturbs our fault lines and everything else, the natural order of things on our planet. So quite frightening. So here we are with our first flat tire out there, and this is a long array of future flat tires. And the funny but not so funny story about this is we had, you know, the boys out there, should I say, Rich and Doug, you know, we've got this, you know, don't worry. Oh, well, we couldn't find the jack. They couldn't find the jack. We didn't know if we had a spare. I had a package of Twizzlers and waters. And you could see me being very helpful in the shade, the little bit of shade I could find, sitting there. And in my head, I was picturing me as just a skeleton with a Twizzler, dead, sitting there. Cause I'm like, nobody, there's no cell service. There's no help. There's no tow trucks. There's no, like, Twizzlers are going to run out. The water's going to run out. We can't hike back. It was actually really frightening. And then finally Deb was like, boys, hold on, what is this? And she saved the day, found the jack, got the tire fixed, and we managed to get out of Project Faultless. But that was first flat tire number 1 of 3 that we will experience when we go into the back gate of Area 51. Now, I included some of these videos because I wanted to really can you guys on Zoom hear the videos? Were you guys able to hear that or not very much? I asked them.
Mostly, yes.
Mostly, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully these will be a little bit louder so you'll be able to hear them a little bit better. But I thought these really were good videos as far as the camo dudes and how they operate. So I hope you enjoy these videos. I know I certainly did. Plus you kind of learn a little history of how they acquired some of the property out there at Area 51. So we'll start with video number 1.
Guys, I've got the camo dudes. Oh my
And
god.
this is so accurate.
You're right here. Camo dudes. Holy crap. Encounter with the camo dudes as you're pulling away from the back gate at Area 51. Tell us the details on how this went down, Christian. This is quite amazing.
Yeah, right. That's one of the interesting things about Area 51, especially. I kind of like to refer to that gate as the third gate because it really kind of is the third gate, and it's up in the mountains. You really do climb an elevation to get to that gate, and it's just a single road. So it's just wide enough for one car to get up or down. And as you're coming down, I mean, you can see for a good 5 miles. So to have a truck just appear out of nowhere, you know, I'm not trying to say that it appears out of nowhere, but it does. And, you know, as soon as you turn that corner and you're driving and I'm looking straight ahead and I'm filming, all of a sudden the camo dude is just right there. You know, where do they come from? There's no roads leading through there. You know, I've investigated that part to see if they have hiding places or anything. There's nothing.
Which is quite strange as well, because we have other videos where, again, people are just startled. These camo dudes come in their white pickup truck, and all of a sudden they appear out of nowhere almost. You would think that there would be some kind of like housing for them or some kind of parking station close by, because within minutes of showing up in that gate over there, boom, they're right there. And then what's quite incredible, you leave the scene after this. And then the camo dudes are kind of chasing you, but then you think you're alone, you pull over and have a sandwich, and all of a sudden you see them, your back window. Let's take a look at this video real quick.
All right, everybody, I stopped to eat a sandwich. You see my rear view mirror? The camo dudes are right behind me. See them? Wait a minute. All right, look in that mirror. You're right there. That. I'm literally eating a sandwich. Where'd they come from again? I mean, I came far away from them. Figured out I must eat a sandwich. Stopped in the middle of the road, turned around, and there they were. They're just sitting there waiting. Incredible. All right, guys, look at the camo dudes. They're still following me. They're hauling butt. Look at that. Oh my gosh. What are they doing?
Having your sandwich, and then all of a sudden, both they're right behind you. Were you pretty uneasy? What was your feeling?
Yeah, it was definitely an uneasy feeling because I drove miles away from where I encountered them when they were going up. I was almost to the town of Rachel, which is, a good little distance from the actual Area 51, the Groom Lake Drive bit and all that. So when I was going to head back to Vegas, and I just decided I'm going to stop and eat a sandwich and drink a soda. So I was eating a sandwich, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and there they are. And I just thought to myself, what in the world? Why am I so important that they have to follow me and try to intimidate me to get off of BLM land right here?
So what we decided to do is go back to that back gate and push our luck. So again, here's Little Alien, the town of Rachel. We come back up on this road here. Here's where the back gate is. We turn this way by this water tank, and what happens, we experience 2 more flat tires. So what was unnerving, we had one camo dude stop here. Here's the truck with 2 flat tires. It was the driver's side and Doug's truck, and the back passenger side on the same side of the truck. And another camo dude, number 2, stopped here. Did they ever approach us? No. Did they ask for help? No. Were they listening to everything we were saying? Yes. Luckily for us, Rich came to our rescue. He was in very good shape and is an avid hiker, and he decided in the desert heat to hike back into Rachel to try and get us a tow truck and get some help. More to this story. So here we are. Oh wait, let me show this video about, I wanted to show a little bit about where we were trying to get this back gate here.
Guys, we're going to say goodbye to.
Hold on a second. Yeah. Okay, let me show this video and then I'll continue with the story of the
Guys, we're going
truck.
to say goodbye to the third gate, the mountain gate. Always nice coming up here. That rain brought out so many ants out here. I mean, ants are just everywhere out here. They were crawling up my leg. We just stood in one spot for 1 second. I hope you guys got me metal detecting. I actually looked at my hood when I found a 3/8 cat hole. I'm feeling ants on my legs. There's a lot of little critters out
They
here.
probably put the ants out there on purpose too.
But at least able to clean the window. Look at this view from up here, looking down at Rachel. Alfalfa fields. Looks like the dry lake bed right there. Got quite a bit of water. Wow. What's amazing is that's probably at the deepest, maybe 6 inches. I wouldn't even say that. It's just so flat. Wonder how they control that out at Groom Lake. What's that crazy black sign again? I wonder if it says anything from this side.
Oh,
I actually found a Caterpillar 3/8 ball. Not interested in that. Be nice to find some old silver coins up there. I really do want to know when this road was built. I'm sure it wasn't built for during. You can see tailings on Cypher Hill and everything. So it looks like somebody did go and make some prospects up there. And, who knows what's back in there. I know there's many mines that the Air Force took over. Right on the other side of Goldfield is the Bullfrog Mountain Range. There were hundreds of mines out there that families had owned from the 1900s, 1901, all that area, when they discovered Goldfield, 1902. But they're in that area since that time, and it took until about the 70s for them to say, hey, we think we gotta go. Yeah, homes out there and everything. There's a really interesting video on YouTube, but I believe it was made for the History Channel. Family that lived in Goldfield, and the father had a mine in the Bullfrog Mountains, and how he would go out there and get stuck out there in the winter. Family would go visit him during Christmas and get stuck out there. Have to pretty much burn everything. It's wood, just to stay alive. And the military just came up to him one day and said, "You guys are out of here."
okay. I think I'll
We have had enough.
come back to. So this, while Rich was headed back to Rachel, this is just some video footage I took of some of the experimental or aircraft flying around at the time. Let's see. Uh-oh, what happened? And there you can see the truck there. We kept walking back up to that hill there because we were worried about Rich and making it in time, making it and surviving in that heat and everything. But the coolest thing that happened while we were there. Oh, wait. So there's Rich getting ready to go, setting his GPS. There we are again. The little bit of shade we had was just the shade of the truck. Again, Twizzlers. Yeah. It was pretty bad. It was really hot, obviously hot and dry. The camo dudes wouldn't approach us. And of course, there's the issue of bathrooms. So that was a problem, especially for us ladies out there. Like, excuse us, just the bush this high. And I'm sure the people in the truck are going, oh my God. Anyway, it was really bad. But I'm going to skip ahead and then go back because I want to get to this video later. Okay, so there's some still shots of those. I'm not sure what kind of jets these are, but when we were up on the hill, we did have F-22s, these guys right here. So we're standing there and the F-22 literally, here's us, here's the truck. It comes right above us. I mean, it's woo, just straight up, and I'm snap, 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 just taking pictures of this jet coming right above us. And Ken St. John, he's like, Katie, you see this photo that you took? So the little dot is the F-22, and the little dot below it to the right is a Dragonfly drone. He's like, make copies of this and save it. So here you can see it. This is such a cool picture because of the size differences. F-22, Dragonfly. These things were buzzing us. So they were like this big. All right. And I'm like, what in the world's with these dragonflies? There's no water there. There's nothing. But you know, they have little microchips on it. So they have the little microphones on the tails of these dragonfly drones. Listening to, oh man, Deb, I gotta go to the bathroom. I mean, listening to everything, they were the eyes and the ears of these guys. And I'm sure they were just having a jolly good time listening to us. But here's the F-22 coming up right above us. It's bam, bam, bam. Just shot right up. It was super cool. But to catch that dragonfly drone was quite the capture, I would say, to get that shot. Really, really fascinating. Yep. So those exist. But I'm going to go back to these guys again that go back to the back gate. They're on their motorcycles. And this is a really, really interesting video. I wanted to share it. Hold on. All right, there we go. Boom. Play. Here we go. It is very unnerving, these guys.
Camo dudes. Camo dudes. Dude. Those are for sure camo dudes. Oh, camo dudes. That was crazy. Oh, that was crazy. That was insane. They were eyeballing us, man.
This is a good example of what you don't want to do.
We're back. That is Sniper Hill up there. That is Sniper Hill. I can't believe we had actual camo dudes looking right at us. I'm turning mine off. That was crazy. What's this?
I'm sure they get so tired of people out there exploring, and the tow truck driver is the same thing.
We got a shot mark there.
I'm sure their hearts are racing. That poor guy gets stuck.
You know? I got you. I got you. I got you. All right, ready? There we go. I know. Oh my God. Oh.
Bye. See ya. Oh man. Oh man. That is really scary. Again, here's another video. Closer in. Does anybody know what kind of jet that is? Paul, do you know what kind of jet that is? Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing. Did we see anything extraterrestrial out at 51? Not during these adventures, but when So one of the evenings in Alamo at the little cabins, we wanted to go on a night sky watch, but it was raining. It was just like a light rain. So we ended up just hanging out and eating food and getting a pizza and all that. And Steve had left by this time. He had to get back to Colorado for work. And I was just outside the cabin by myself. I don't know, it must have been midnight, just watching the skyline, looking for, hearing any jets, whatever I saw. But what I did see was kind of interesting. It was this green, so it was raining, drizzling. It was this green light. It did this, it stopped, moved back, went back again, and then boom, it was gone. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I didn't hear any sound. It wasn't a jet. It was just this green light. And I don't know what that was. So that was my kind of cool private experience that I had over the ridge in Alamo. I don't know what it was. I don't know, but it didn't make any sound, whatever it was. Could have been a drone, possibly. I don't know. But, so back to the here's our tow truck to the rescue. And what was crazy about this is they could only go in so far. So we had to get an air compressor, fill up the tire, push it back, fill up the tire, push it back to get to a point where he would actually come in. This guy here, this fellow down here was not happy. A matter of fact, this guy had to talk him into coming in and actually getting the truck and taking it in. And what Doug found out from the tire shop or the garage where he took to get the flats fixed is that they actually hide like canisters underground. So when the tire rolls over, it actually poof, sends up like a shot and punctures those tires. So I'm sure these guys make a good living pulling people out. So if you do go adventure around Area 51, make sure you have plenty of spares. Know how to work your jack, have a lot of water and a lot of Twizzlers. That's all I can say. I mean, yeah, it was pretty crazy. This is what you do after the big rescue. You go to Little Alien and you pour a rum and a Coke and you get food and you're like, oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, no, that was the happiest moment right there, is being rescued. They were very happy. Oh my goodness. And then here's Rich. So as luck would have it, and Rich can tell you better, he actually was picked up, I think it was a good 2.5 miles of his walk by 2 showgirls from Vegas. Leave it to Rich to get picked up by 2 showgirls and drove him back into town. So, that was quite funny. Rich, do you want to unmute your mic? You could speak about that a little bit. There's Rich. You want to tell us about your adventure, Rich? I think we'd be able to hear you. Unmute your mic, Rich. Rich. Oh, here. Hello? No, maybe not. Can you unmute your mic, Rich?
Katie, we could just barely hear him.
Okay, now we can hear you, Rich. Do you want to tell us about your harrowing adventure?
Yep, that was somebody else. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, the 2 ladies were on their way to the back gate and I flagged them down and they were a little reluctant to pick me up as somebody coming out of the desert. But I talked them into it. They drove me the last couple miles back to Rachel. And they only had an hour or so to get out to the back gate. And they were from, I think, California or Washington. I guess it doesn't matter. But they never got to the back gate. So that's why you did that creative image. And we
that's right.
put them at the back gate and then sent them the picture. So they were kind enough to give me a ride and they missed their opportunity to get to the back gate. That's right.
They forfeited their adventure to the back gate. So I took Photoshop and transcribed, I put their photo by the back gate and sent it to the girls. Like, here's your photo of you guys at the back gate that you never really made it to. I forgot that I had done that. That's funny. But yeah, Rich to the rescue and was able to get the tow truck and get us the heck out of Dodge. So.
Let me mention one other thing, is when I got to Rachel, we made our connection to AAA because we didn't have a connection earlier. We didn't have a reliable connection. And we got somebody who lived in Rachel, who came out and was adding air to the tire. And so before we could get to the tow truck, we had to get down the road to the main road to the back gate, because the tow truck would not go up the same road that we got our flat tires on. We were lucky we could even get them to come on the dirt road at all.
Right, yeah, that's what I remember.
That's all I
as
had to
well.
add. Oh, and the guy that helped us from Rachel, he said he rescues people out there all the time.
I can't remember. I think we bought him a 6-pack of beer. And I do remember the tow truck driver was into NHRA racing. I'm like, yeah, my husband races out in Vegas. I never did get him tickets to the race, but I was trying to make the pot sweeter for helping us out. But is Doug Wilson in Zoom with us? I could see some folks there. We have 18 people in Zoom, which is pretty awesome. I'm sorry if you're not able to hear very well, but I'm glad you all are here with us. Really, like I said, Doug was supposed to do the other hour of this presentation. So we don't have that. So what I would like to kind of do is open it up to anybody else that has questions or adventures or anything they'd like to share. Would be great. Anybody?
Hey, Katie. Katie?
Yeah.
I wanted to share one more time. You had a picture there of about 4 or 5 containers with food. And
Yeah.
by 10 o'clock at night, when we got back to the hotel, I never had such a good cold hamburger and French fries.
I know, isn't that
Ice
the
cold
truth?
by then.
It's like near-death experience. Food never tastes so good. I know we're just being really wimpy here, but I get, I mean, I guess the whole, what's really fascinating is if any of you haven't been able to see Ken St. John's presentation on Area 51 and S4, now S4 is really where I think all the interesting ET reverse engineering stuff happens, not so much Area 51, but it is on that backside of the mountain on there. So pretty fascinating stuff out there. Would I do it again in a heartbeat? Yes, I would. I would. No, I think it's worth the trip. It's worth the adventure. Just, yeah, bring a lot of water and spares and all that good stuff. And I don't know, maybe you'd be better off kind of going off the road a little bit, off-roading a little bit, bring the Jeep, get off the main beaten path. I don't know. Maybe that's a strategy we'll try for next time. But one thing I do remember that Doug was going to share, and he has photos of it, and maybe Barry, do you remember there was like this big silver, like metal round sphere that went over the top of the hood of his truck? Do you remember that? Him telling us about that? No, way back in his adventure days. Do you guys remember that? Anybody here? Yeah, some big metal sphere literally went right over the hood of Doug's truck. And he has all sorts of photos of the sensors out there. And I mean, like I said, they're listening to everything that you say or do, and I'm sure getting a big kick out of all of it, just laughing their butts off at how silly we must all
He
seem.
did mention on that trip that the oddest thing was he drove by a town, small little town.
Uh-huh.
He said on his way out there, one of the back roads. And when he came back, the town was there.
Right, like really strange, yeah. Yeah, creepy. And the best thing about Doug's story too, so he actually gets arrested, thrown in the dirt, thrown in the back of the truck, cuffs on and everything. And the officer, remember something about the county lines. and he had to go on another call or something. And Doug was like, this is my chance to get away. And actually got out somehow and went across county lines knowing he couldn't get him again. Do you remember that? Yeah. Yeah, the sheriff's got it. Yeah. Yeah, Doug, where are you? Anyway, I mean, that's really all I have to share, just that short presentation. Rich sent me a little thing that he had put together. Let me see if I can get this up and send it. Hold on a minute. Maybe it went into junk mail. Rich, did you resend that to me? Rich Evans, let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Let's see if I can open this. Right here. Download file.
Now you have to click on download.
All right. Since we have a little time, it's downloading.
It's kind of a summary of what you've been through.
Yeah,
About 9 minutes with no
Perfect.
dialogue, just music.
perfect. It'd be a good way to. Am I still sharing my screen? Can you see this, Rich? Hopefully. Misadventures.
You're not sharing the presentation.
Oh,
You
no,
can't see the
okay,
video.
hold on. Stop. Hold on.
Let's get it on the big screen.
Come on. Need to go to Zoom. Share screen. Here we go. Share. All right, now let's try it.
Thank you.
There it is, Tim. Most people probably get it good, but we have such a bad connection. She's laughing.
That's great.
Look at Katie. She likes the music. She's enjoying the special effects. So you have to add extra light for that. Probably blew up Amy. sort of stuck there. Behind everybody's frozen. Probably is a minute. It sort of will jump ahead and catch up. Right.
There's the two girls. On that note, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, we should plan a Colorado Area 51 trip. Who's down? Yeah? I think a whole group of us should go.
I'm down.
We're gonna get a list together. I mean, I think we could get a good group of people to go down. Just make a weekend out of it. Although I do hear most activity, is it true you see it on Wednesday and Thursdays? For whatever reason, I think they know a lot of people are out there on the week, or is it Tuesday?
So little story, Kevin and I were down on the Area 51 trip. And so it involved going to the Lily Inn and all
Hold on,
that.
can I get you to come up and talk in microwave so that, or microwave, microphone. For the people on Zoom. For people on Zoom. Hold on, let me get Barry on. Here. I don't know if you can, you have to stop sharing. Stop share. There we go. All right, there you are.
Okay, so we had gone out for two things that were memorable to me. Was one, we were out at the back gate at Area 51, and they had mentioned, they said, if any vehicles pull up, a lot of times it's civilian contractors, and what they don't want to be is photographed. So just something to keep in mind. And while we were out there, and you can walk along the fence line, so you can actually go, if you walk the fence line, you'll actually end up seeing behind the buildings. So when you're first standing there at the gate, you can just see the guard shack with blacked out windows and another building behind it. And then, and that's it. But if you walk down the fence line, you actually are now looking behind the building because you're about another 20 feet behind it. And sure enough, a pickup truck started coming down, and it's coming down, and it can't really see all the people at the gate. So there was probably about 30, 35, something like that. And as soon as it saw everybody, immediately you could see it stepped to the gas and shot behind one of the sheds and shut its lights off. Because the first rule of thumb for that was probably don't get photographed. Not that we could see in there or anything like that. We all had our cameras out. And then beyond that, we didn't really see anything. However, what became real interesting was when we went back to Little Alien Inn for dinner that night. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and we're standing outside looking around. It was a clear night, and all of a sudden I heard somebody said, "Look, there's a UFO." So we go over to where that person is, and where you talking? He says, "Up there, you'll see it's like an orange glow." So we're sitting there, and sure enough, we see this orange glow, and it gets really big, and it's just hanging there, and then it slowly dissipates out. And then we're still watching it. About a few minutes later, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 orange lights, and they're just hanging there. And then we're listening, and then a group of people were around. We don't hear anything, and then we do hear jets. And somebody says in the back, "Those are countermeasures," and that's exactly what they were. They were countermeasures. So jets were flying lights out, but you could hear them flying around, and it's Tuesday and Thursdays. So what happened? We were there on a Thursday night. So what happened was, we found out later from the owners of the Little Alien, they said a couple of military people were here the night before, and they said, "Hey, are those UFO people going to be here tomorrow night?" And they said, "Yeah." We said, "Great." And they put a show on for us. That was the whole thing. Is that they dropped the countermeasures so we'd see them, we all get excited. But it was really a lot of fun, and it was really something to see. I'd never seen countermeasures before, and it's amazing. I mean, they literally were just hanging there. We didn't see them drop. They were just hanging there, and then eventually they go out. So that was kind of fun. And so I've been there during the day and at night, and night's a little bit more interesting. So.
Right. And is there something about the shack too? Did I hear that? Who was telling me? Was it Doug or somebody else that it was like nobody in that little shack by the back gate, and then all of a sudden there was somebody there? Like, so I think there's underground. They must have ways, and same with the pickup trucks, because they seem to come out of nowhere. Like the camo dudes, those trucks, they're like, boom, they're there. Where the heck did they come from? They're not.
Yeah, I mean, the truck I saw was just coming down the road. It was just, you could see its lights, and it was coming down, and then it didn't really pick us up until later. But
could you see the people in like the little shack?
You can't, because they're blacked out windows. So one of the stories that we were told by the bus driver going down, he said, "Don't do anything stupid at the back gate. Don't, like, because it's just 2 gates. You can just duck underneath and walk in." He said, "Don't do things like stick your arm in your back, things like that. It's just goofy stuff." So there was, well, he said there was an Australian group that was there a couple of years ago, and they came to the back gate, and one of the guys just walked underneath because he didn't see anything. He walked underneath, nothing happened. So he walks up and he goes to the guard shack because he can't see anything. And he goes and he presses and he's looking in. What he sees is there's 4 guards sitting there watching a college football game, and they're all sitting there watching it. And like an idiot, he taps on the glass. And of course, they freak out. They turn around, they go out there and immediately throw him to the ground and put plastic cuffs on him. Like 3 days later, after spending some time in jail. I think Doug had a story that there was an elderly, there's two elderly women who were in a car, and they just they went on air and they just took off. They just drove through an area that said warning, do not go beyond this point. Doesn't know what happened to them, but he said, "I'm sure they were quickly." The camera dudes popped out of the ground and Anyway,
Right, $750 fine. All right, so I do want to organize that. I think I'm going to, I'm not going to just talk about it. I'm going to organize next spring, Colorado MUFON. It's hitting Area 51. We'll give them a heads up so they could put a show on for us or something. That sounds like fun. Go on a Thursday night, absolutely.
Ken can make arrangements.
Absolutely. And any of you there in Zoom, you guys are more than welcome to join us.
We just lost you.
Yeah, just lost audio.
Lost audio and video.
What's going on? Oh no.
Okay, we can hear you now talking.
Weird.
What actually pierced those tires? What actually, was it like a nail? Was it rocks? I mean, did they ever figure out what made the tires go flat?
According to Doug, they bury these things under the road. I don't know what the heck is this is doing. I'm gonna unplug that. And as you drive over it, the weight of the tire causes it to like poof, pop and shoot up like a nail or something metal, because they were pulling these things out of his tires. There, can you guys hear me now?
We can
Yes.
hear you and see you.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I guess they booby trap the area, and I'm sure they get a big kick out of it. Like, God, these morons keep coming back for more. But
This might be a dumb question. Do you have to be security? Did you as a group have security cleared?
me personally, or Doug, or any of us? No. No, we were just out there goofing around, taking video. And like I said, I mean, there are things to see. It's worth going. I think it's pretty fun. Yeah. So let's do that in the spring. Yes, Paul.
Just a little something before.
Okay, hold on. There's Paul Ogle.
Before you go, I guess impressions of a guy who went to his first symposium a couple of weeks ago or whatever it was.
Mhm.
And it's an interesting thing. And secondly, the symposium is going to be here next year. Is gonna, I believe it was announced to be in April instead of July.
No, July.
Is it July for sure?
I have the dates.
I think it's towards the beginning of July. Yeah, right after July. I think it's the weekend after.
I have the dates right here.
I would commend this to all you, because you guys don't have to go pay a bunch of money to the hotel. You can just go get the tickets and go home tonight. And one of the things they don't advertise is look at the speakers. And after the people speak, or at least that's what it was this time, and there were maybe, I don't know, 300 or 400 people in the big room listening to all the speakers. And you could go on MUFON TV and watch them all again. But after they speak, there's always a break where people run off and go to the bathroom or do whatever they do. And the speakers step down and you can go up and talk to them. And there wasn't a speaker there that didn't stand up there and talk to the last person that wanted to talk to them. And so if you want to talk to, in this case, it was George Knapp or Nick Pope or a lot of people that you're very familiar with, if you like to go talk to them, if you have curious questions, if you wonder what they're like, this is a chance. That was one of the more interesting things there was to do, and is to meet them and talk to them. We all know there's some odd people in ufology.
What?
No, I'm honest. I'm honest about that. And you can go up and see who's odd and who's normal. And that's useful too. And so it'll be fun. It's just a luxury to have it here. And I think it's because of John, who was the first MUFON guy, just about second MUFON guy, who had MUFON here in, if you know the history, in Denver, in the Denver area for a long time. And he is just the nicest guy ever. And for that reason, this is one of the places they always have a symposium every so many years. But I would commend it to all of you to come think about it, because you can do it on the cheap, since you don't have to pay the money to the hotel.
Might I add that we need to congratulate the field investigator of the year?
Yes.
Yes, why don't you?
What we have, they have one banquet night, they have a little presentation up there, and here's the best blank blank of the year, and so forth and so forth. And they honored the best person that helps MUFON and everything. And one of the things they did is they honored the best field investigator in the world with a big trophy thing. And it's our own Jeff.
Jeff Hastings! Colorado represented.
And I think Jeff is here. I see.
Yeah,
him
Jeff is there.
on
Congratulations, Jeff.
Jeff.
There he is.
Yeah,
State
there-
Thank
Director of the Year. That's what he looks like. That's what the best of the best looks like right there. Mhm.
Sitting in my camper in Maine.
Yeah, well, it's well deserved. You work very hard on your cases.
And I
So-
might say that Jeff is a humble guy, but when they announced his name, he didn't stumble. He didn't look around. He just got up and went up there. And so Jeff is such a good guy. We are fortunate to have him, and it was a well-deserved honor. I just wanted to put a little pitch for the symposium next year, because it's going to be very cost efficient. And the best benefits, going up and talking to the speakers afterwards, the ones that you're
It's true.
curious about. That's it, Katie.
That's true. And might I add, I see Olivia's name up there too. Olivia, congratulations. She is now officially one of our new field investigators as well. So congratulations to you. We had 3 come in one day from headquarters. And
Thank
that
you.
is super cool. So congratulations, Olivia.
Well, thank you. I mean, I hope I'm gonna know what to do.
You will, we'll get you trained.
Reading and pelting a dust is one thing, doing the work it's another, so we'll see.
And I don't know if you heard at the beginning of this, but we are going to have a field investigator meeting at 12 o'clock, second Saturday of next month, right here in this room. So I hope you can make it to that.
Yes,
If not,
yes, yes,
we will
yes.
stream it as well.
No, I'll be there.
I think this is, I mean, for a first try, this is going better than I thought it was going to go, actually. So not bad, unless you even turn the camera, dare I. I've got a small group. Everybody wave hi. There, look at, oh yeah. there you
Lots
are.
of people there, yeah.
Yeah, so there we go. All right, so we have a bit of time. Oh, are you waving hi or do you have a question? All right, do we have any other more questions, comments, anything anybody wants to talk about? Because, here we are, we get together once a month and discuss. Oh, something I did want to talk about? There's a new series by J.J. Abrams. Have you guys seen this called UFO? Episode number 3 is all about MUFON. It's interesting to me because I don't know if necessarily they spun it in a good light. Yeah, they really didn't. And I want to address that for a minute. Being, I'm, pretty active in MUFON now since 2012. And I feel I'm out there as one of the, as well as Barry and others, kind of a voice for MUFON, especially a female element for MUFON. And I just want to say that it's probably true, and it makes sense to me that we would have some government agencies looking into our data. Of course they're going to. I would worry if they didn't. I mean, we know they've been investigating this for decades, right? And we are a private organization that takes reports from your average person from all around the world. Why wouldn't they want to get their eyes on that data? Are they in there putting out my battery's running low. Putting out misinformation, telling me to go out there and spin a narrative of some sort? Never, not once. Not once. If anything, the opposite is true. Hold on a minute. Let me see. Please work. Okay. If anything, the opposite is true. or I feel, dare I say his name, I feel sometimes I get little pats on the back or little jabs, little hints. Like, I don't have security clearance. I can go out and say whatever I want. What are they gonna do to me? But there's people in this field and that are researching this topic that do, and they have a lot to lose. They're pilots, they're highly trained PhDs, they have government jobs, and they can't talk so freely. So I think what they're trying to get out to those of us who can talk in a safe way has been my experience. Like, here, Katie, I kind of gave you that little clue or little hint without them coming right out and saying something. I'll be like, oh, okay, I better follow that lead. But is it disinformation? No, I don't believe that it is. And I've never seen that. Have you, Barry? I mean, I was really, really disheartened to watch that episode. Yes, Bigelow, was involved with the Colorado MUFON. Yes, there's been ATIP and Lou Elizondo and them looking at the data, but to me, is that such a bad thing? I don't think it is. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I don't think they're spinning misinformation or.
Is this the Showtime show?
Yeah, it's a Showtime show. J.J. Abrams, it's called UFO. It's actually a pretty good series. The other, except for yeah, it's on Netflix.
No, it's better than.
Oh, it's better than Netflix.
Netflix did one as well.
Oh, did they? Okay, yeah.
So how did they, I didn't, Showtime, how did they spin?
So George Knapp was on it. Richard Doty's on that episode. They talked about the ATIP connection and Bigelow connection. But the one person that represented MUFON on the show was James Carrion. Now, Carrion was the one that started up the STAR team and the Mars project, which, as you well know, it kind of took up that Mars project for Ken St. John. He revamped it. And it's really my belief, being administrator for Mars, that, we lost our video again. That yes, ATIP, Lou Elizondo absolutely had access to MUFON's case files. So why wouldn't they? I don't know why this is. It seems to be when I plug it in that this is happening. Oh well. Hopefully you guys can hear me if you can't see me. But I just wanted to say that I don't know the history, and I know Doug and maybe Barry, you know it better than I do, because I kind of came in right after the James Carrion, Bob Bigelow thing, and I think Jeremy Ray, our chief investigator, actually was on Bob Bigelow's team and actually got to go out on some investigations under Bob Bigelow and do some of that, which is pretty cool for Jeremy. He's like, those were the great MUFON days because we actually had some funding behind us. But if you talk to Jeremy personally, and I have several times, as many of you probably have too, he was never spun a narrative either. We're not out there, we all have, and within the MUFON organization, it runs the gamut from nuts and bolts, very scientific, very skeptical people, clear to the real woo-woo, everything's a UFO, everything's interdimensional, and right, what didn't you say, Barry? I think that's fair to say, and everything in between. And so I just thought that episode was quite unfair and spun our organization in a pretty not true kind of way. And I'm hoping I can kind of dispel some of that myth a little bit, into, they could have taken that and spun that information to where it's not nefarious and it's not disinformation, but it is necessary that they are gathering intel and information on cases, which is not a bad thing in my opinion. And I think our country needs secrets, and there's some technologies we don't want to be known out there, right? I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. That's my take on it. So I did want to mention that. So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
James Carrion, when they did this interview, quite negative about it. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, he really was. And
I mean, I can tell you.
yeah, if Barry, can you come speak to that a little bit? Here, come. Yeah. Can you guys hear me still on Zoom? Yeah. Okay. So here's Barry about James Carrion a little bit. Is that you? He was before my time. Oh, I guess.
Yeah, James Carrion got involved as internet. He was involved with MUFON for a while, but he became international director in about 2008, I believe, and was to about 2000, maybe 10, somewhere around there, 2008, 2010. But he had been involved with MUFON before, and he was one of the transitional international directors that took over the position. James is the one that actually hired me as being public information officer for MUFON. So I worked directly for James, and the funny part was he wanted me to put together a brochure for emergency responders in case there was a large event that occurred, like an Independence Day type event. And I had to laugh because I said no one's going to stop and read a brochure if we've got 2 normal ships, hovering over major urban cities. So it ended up being more of a research project, but he was pretty dedicated to it. He came up with some. He dispelled. There was the Kinross case, which was a jet fighter. This was going back. His name was Felix Moncla, and it took place, I think, in 1957. And he was vectored over up in Michigan, in the Sioux Lakes area. That there was an object that was above the lake. He was vectored over like 35,000 feet down to 8,000 feet to investigate it. And this is the case where they were watching him approach the object on radar, and then went from 2 objects to 1 object, and then that 1 object disappeared. They never found Felix Moncla's plane, never found any debris, and it was quite a search it was right near the Canadian international border, so Canadian Coast Guard, US Coast Guard, they couldn't find it. So anyway, supposedly there was a group that found the plane at the bottom of the lake, Sioux Lake, and Sioux Lock, actually it's called. And James found it to be a hoax, and in fact it was. They still haven't found the plane. So he was vested. It was a departure that was not, separation was not pretty, and I think there was some ill feelings there towards that separation, without going into detail, and it did ultimately involve Bigelow. So having one person maybe had a poor separation represent an organization is not necessarily the best thing. Just as if you read the Washington Post article that was spoke about Colorado MUFON, about MUFON, and Doug Wilson was featured in there. And then they also had a guy that used to be the head of investigations, really involved probably more of what Doug's job is now. And his separation was not a great separation, and yet he was half of the article. It's kind of Chris Coggins, who didn't have very good things to say about MUFON. So it was really unbalanced, I felt. But when you interview people that have separated and not necessarily good terms, of course the media loves that, right? They have that in a leader reads type of approach. So not necessarily good things come from those kind of interviews. But I've been involved with MUFON since '99. And I'm a proud member. MUFON used to have a retail store over in Lakewood at Kipling and Chatsworth, I think. And it was a store right in the strip center. And I remember it was a Sunday in '99, and my wife's reading the Denver Post. And she said, "Did you know there was a retail store selling UFO stuff?" I'm like, there's no way. And I look at the paper and I immediately stopped and drove there. I had to go see it for myself. And I went in there, and there was this elderly gentleman that's in there, and I ended up spending about 2 hours talking to him. And I bought my field investigator manual and got my junior ID card, and I bought his book, and it was John Schuster, co-founder of MUFON. I had no idea who he was, but he seemed like a really nice guy. So he had written the Cash Landrum incident that took place in Texas in 1980. So I started, and they used to have the meetings at the back of the store. So you'd have the front of the store in the back, we'd all jam in there. And John was the ID at the time international director. So I was, infatuated. I was like, wow, there's people like me that are going to this meeting that actually have an interest in ufology. And some were a little nutty, and some were, really serious, very credentialed. And I became involved with the Colorado MUFON board in 2001 as treasurer. If you know Alejandro Rojas, and there. Yeah, I took over for Alejandro. So Alejandro, he was treasurer. So I became treasurer. He was taking a leap of faith and saying, I'm leaving my computer training job and I'm going to become a ufologist and researcher. And he did, so I was really excited for him when he made that move. It was a real leap of faith. It was like literally leaving his paying job. So, but now, here we are, and a lot of us are still together. And, if the fact that we're a like-minded group that are just looking, for me, I'm nuts and bolts. I want to know what the science is behind it. I want to know what the evidence is. Is it, And do we have really good, credible witnesses, multiple witnesses, or physical trace evidence, stories from folks that have everything to lose, nothing to gain. So we certainly enjoy our meetings over here, and I appreciate you guys, coming. And we'll continue. We've got some great upcoming speakers coming. We've got Yvonne Smith in November, from an experiencer perspective, and we're going to have Don Schmidt eventually coming. He's the if you read anything about Roswell, Don Schmidt will have his name associated with several books over there. Really good one called Witness to Roswell. He's involved. He's been interviewed over, I think, 600, mostly secondary and tertiary witnesses, but it's real interesting stuff. And can't prove anything except anecdotal evidence. And then we have what else we have coming? Dave Marler. Yeah, Dave Marler will be back. It'll be the first quarter of next year. New triangle cases. Dave has got all the COMUFON and NICAP files now. COMUFON is the Center for UFO Studies. It's J. Allen Hynek's group. He left as a scientific advisor for the Air Force. And then, oh yeah, the Ramseys, Scott and Suzanne Ramsey, who wrote, you can look up their book, The Aztec Crash. That he does a detail. He interviewed a variety of witnesses. This was a crash that allegedly took place in 1948 that involved an intact craft, the military, variety of witnesses. And there's 2 books out on it. The Ramseys have the latest. So we'll continue to kind of delve forward. We were trying to think of somebody else. There was somebody else that was coming in. I was drawing a blank that we're going to have. So, but in the meantime, go to the website. You can also, what's the accessibility for the cases for if you're not an investigator? Can you look at cases?
You can just read the depositions on them, so you can actually, that's also your spot for you to go to. But you can go to MUFON's website and search cases. You
Right.
can see, the time, the day,
Right.
without the identifying information. You can read the definition of what's happening here. Colorado seems fairly consistent when you say, Jeff, I mean, we're averaging 12 to 15 cases a month. Is that right, Jeff? Can you ask him?
Yeah, that's about right. Between 12 and 15.
Yeah. So we're staying fairly busy here in Colorado. They run the gamut. Quite a few hoaxes lately, right, Ron? I think people are bored. COVID, let's write up fantastic stories, send it in MUFON. So, kind of a bummer, but.
Hoaxes are going to be part of it. And then I'm actually working on a new presentation called UFOs and Law Enforcement, and it's a lot of classic cases that involve directly at least one police officer, if not multiple. And I have a lot of audio interviews with the actual witnesses that will be able to, it's one thing to hear the story from a historical perspective. It's another thing to hear the actual witness tell their story and how some things are different. I have to cross-reference a lot of information before I'll release it. And then you hear the witness like, wow, I didn't know that happened. He never mentioned that before in any of the historical articles that I've read on it. So it'll be pretty much from 1957 up. I think it makes it into the early 70s. That's pretty much it. But they're mostly as I say, audio. It's a lot of audio recordings that I edit down, and then video interviews with also some of the primary witnesses in the case. So I hope to have that ready by the first quarter.
And does your presentation include Dave Marler's over
Yes.
several counties
January
in
5th,
Illinois?
2000,
Yeah.
and January 5th, 2000, we're in, and it had an interesting look to it. It was silent at one point. They were able to figure out it had moved at about 12,000 miles per hour from one point in space to another. So fast that it seemed as if it disappeared and then reappeared again. But in fact, it just moved that quick, especially when people say, I was looking at an object and it disappeared. It probably just moved away so fast. They thought it disappeared. Because we can only think of things in the law of physics as we know. What's the law of physics that we don't know, which we'll find out 500 years from now. It's like going back to Cro-Magnon, man, and trying to explain something. that's kind of where we are with some of these other entities. And back to you, Kate.
Ah, does anybody else have any questions or comments or?
I just want to ask about Dave Marler. He's the guy that gave a presentation on the incident in Taos, New Mexico.
Yes, that was the burn victim one with it.
Right,
Yes,
yeah,
that's Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where my grandparents used to live. And there was still some talk, you know, like, when was that? In the 40s?
I think it was in 64. Yeah, 64, where an object was seen as a little 8-year-old kid was out in at his grandmother's store, and then he was out in the back in the alley, and this object, he was watching this object was moving very fast, like a black object, and then next thing you know, it was over his head, and then it seemed to drip something like fire onto him, and it actually burned him, and then it left, and they rushed him to the hospital. But in like 3 days, he healed up, and he had no scars or anything like that. They didn't understand he was burned, he was hurt, and then he was okay.
And then they hunted it down as an adult, did an interview.
Dave found him. He was his sales territory at that time, his previous job involved hops, involved all of New Mexico, and he found him in the directory. He actually went up and knocked on his door. This was like 37 years later or something, whatever it was. And then the guy answered the door. He said, "Are you?" And he said, "Yes." And Dave ended up doing a whole history, interviewed him, wrote him on it. Pretty interesting. But he's doing more research into burn victims, people that have been harmed. There's a great book out there by Bob Pratt. He was an interview. He actually worked for the National Enquirer, National Enquirer. Did some great work as a UFO investigator. He, in the mid to late 70s, he wrote a whole book on this. I think it was called Terror in the Skies. And it was all these people in Brazil that were injured it was in some cases seriously injured. Some really weird events that occurred right from the witnesses telling their story to him. And he went for years back and forth. It was mostly from 75 to 79. Some occurred as late as 91. But they were being pulled up. They were being they had hot liquid poured on them. Most cases they were trying to be abducted, and then they would fight back and hold them to a branch. It was story after story. He interviewed 1,800 witnesses that were involved in this, and it was just, several people died. I mean, people got hurt. I don't know what that was going on or why it was occurring, but specifically in this small area of Brazil. His name is Bob Pratt. Came out in 20 years ago or something like that.
So many things happened from 75 to 78. Those are my favorite years in college. I mean, even Travis Walton, 76. It's so wild to really research those particular years because there seemed to be a lot of landed craft with beams and suits and the belts and the helmets and I'm like, where did these guys go? Like, we don't get reports like that anymore. Isn't that odd?
There used to be, a lot of abductions used to occur. We would get reports on. I remember John Schuessler talking about there was a period. This is back in the around 2000 that he was getting a lot of reports in from a lot of people on the road at hotels that have missing time. He would get 3-4 calls a week. There's a lot of salespeople. I'm on the road. I travel. I've never been abducted. But at least I don't remember. It was in my sleeve. But yeah, then we get called and these people would tell us stories the next day anonymous. And he said he was getting these reports one after another. And it lasted for 6 months or something, and then it stopped. But you're right, mid 75, 76, 77, unbelievable years for events that occurred of abductions, Allagash, the Kentucky women, Tehran, the sightings. I mean, just great UFO evidence that occurred. Early 50s was the same way, around 52 to 54, but yeah, mid 70s. In the early 60s, I have a presentation. Most of my presentations on historical events are 10 years. They cover 10 years at a time. But from 64 to 67, I couldn't. My presentation would have been 5 hours long if I went beyond this 3 years, because there were so many events that occurred. They occur in flaps, early 50s, mid 60s, mid 70s.
Yeah.
just wait for the next one.
I think the next big flap is going to be full on. Here we are. Has to. There's no stopping this one. Okay, so I was wondering if anyone has heard the news conference at the Lincoln Memorial on August 17th. Olivia, do you want to unmute your mic and just tell us what that is?
Yeah, so I don't, there was this news conference that was broadcasted online. This woman, she goes by an alias of Angelia, but her name is Angelia Lynn Johnston. In this conference, it was live online. She claims to be a retired defense intelligence officer, and she came public with the story that she has actually met aliens, that there is by Area 51. Apparently she was at a friend's house, and it wasn't a friend, it was somebody that she met, and this person took her to her property, and there was this passage online. This guy had dug a tunnel underground, and it took into this area where she eventually met with these alien beings. And she's apparently, from what she's saying, she's trying to get together a group of people, among which an astronaut, I don't remember who the guy was, and some other experts and various PhDs or whatever. But she welcomes anybody that wants to go along, because she plans on going back, and she claims that these beings want this information now to start being disclosed. So I just was wondering, am I the only one that heard this, or is anybody else? Does anybody else know anything more about it?
It's on Reddit. Well, I'll definitely. I think you sent me the link to that, Olivia, and I watched parts of it.
Yeah, yes, that's the lady.
Yeah, that's the lady. Yeah, really interesting stuff. Again, a lot of theories about these underground aliens that have been here for a long time. I mean, heck, even Ken talks about aliens at S4. So who knows? Maybe when it's time, it's time. I'm going to do a selfish plug here, only because I need moral support, because I'm actually kind of nervous. But right now, I don't know if many of you know, the International UFO Congress is occurring online. I was actually a speaker for them yesterday, but tomorrow there's going to be a panel. It's called UFO Investigations, Government Disclosure, and Everything in Between. It's moderated by Mr. Nick Pope, and will be attended by Nick Pope, myself, Grant Cameron, Stephen Bassett, Alejandro Rojas, Ross Colhart from Australia, and Brian Bender. So you can actually stream that from home. It is going to be 1:15 to 2:30. That's Arizona time. So we're an hour later. So 2:15 tomorrow for $12. If you want to see Katie up there trying to hold her own with Steve Bassett and Nick Pope, and I'll be the female representative up there. I hope to do Colorado proud. I don't know what I'm going to add to it other than my, I don't know. It should be interesting.
Can you post the link in website?
Huh? Yeah. Rich, can you maybe put a link to UFO Congress up on our website if I send it to you? So I'm gonna maybe I'll just sit there and smile. Yeah.
Are you guys getting together through that, or?
No, it's all gonna be Zoom. It'll be like this. So it'll be like, our little faces up there, and Nick will monitor or moderate it. And I think he's going to do specific questions instead of like asking a question and going down the line. He's going to have targeted questions for each of us. So we'll see how that goes. But it's kind of fun and exciting to get out and finally be sharing some of this information. The frustrating part for me, though, is I tend to change how I feel about the phenomenon almost daily, just with new information that comes out, you know? It's like, what is going on here? So I don't know, but it is what it is. I think that's pretty natural, right? Right, Barry? As investigators, if you're doing your due diligence and you're doing your homework and you're researching, and there's decades, I look around my library and I'm looking at these magazines and books from, you know, the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming, the amount of information. And I know that David Marler's out there, along with some other folks, trying to get all this information digitized and accessible for all of us to be able to really we need smart computers looking at all this data. That's where the answers are going to come from. But anyway, thank you guys for being here on Zoom. I think it went pretty good. So, and thank you guys for being here too today, coming out, spending Saturday with us.
The next one would be.
Show up and tell your stories. Yeah.
Thanks for people that.
Yeah, and I think it's. Right, and I think it's really, really important information. Absolutely. So, yeah, come prepared next month. And maybe we can get Doug to do his little part 2 real quick too, at least show some of those photos, because yeah, they're pretty fascinating, the things that he's seen out there at Area 51. Again, I think that goes to that the answer lies in between. Like, obviously we're out there back engineering and creating our aircraft, but at the same time, there's some unusual stuff that happens out there that we can't explain. So I don't know, it's fascinating, but all right, thanks guys. Bye. Bye you guys. I'm gonna stop recording. Hopefully this is, oh yeah. I'm gonna stop recording this and let this download.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, bye Olivia.
Bye. Bye.
Bye Kevin, bye Jeff.
Bye.
Let's see.
Hi,
Alex. Oh, hi Alex. Come do that.
Thank you.
this is Kevin.
Bye. Bye Kevin. So pause.